I'm Aryeh Schwartz along with Rachel Galligan, and welcome to the Winsidr show where it's all about the W. Game 2 of the WNBA Finals is in the books. The series is tied 1-1. We had overtime. We had passionate players. We had a lot of craziness. Let's get into it. If you like our show, please consider joining our Patreon community, patreon.com/Winsidr. For less than a cup of coffee a month, you can directly show support for the hard work we do covering the W. And don't forget to see our amazing staff's written content over at winsidr.com. That's winsidr.com. Remember, downloading the episode makes our stats look better and allows us to continue doing this. Do you want to sponsor an episode of the Winsidr Show? Email us at info@winsidr.com. Rachel, you called overtime. You called a 4-point game. I very much so. So you were off. Let's be clear. It was a 5-point game. No, I'm messing with you. I said 3-point game in regulation. You said 4-point game in overtime. I got to give you props. 5-point game in overtime. What a game. The excitement was there. I mean, this game literally had it all. Let's start off with the controversies, right? Controversy
Which
number
one?
one. Yeah, controversy number one. Diamond DeShield's 3-point shot, 3-pointer taken back, which was a huge blow. Shout out to Erica McCall. If you are not on social media on Twitter, I don't know how you know about this podcast, but I would say also make sure you're following, all the WNBA players, especially Erica McCall, a player who started her own podcast recently. Want to give a shout out to that. It's all about living the overseas life, but also watching WNBA players live tweet games has become one of my favorite things ever. And we don't see it as much during the regular season. So I really appreciate it here. But she had a tweet that was like, that rescinding the 3-point shot by Diamond changed the game more than honestly any of the other, controversial aspects. I will say this, Aryeh Chambers, shout out to Aryeh Chambers, big friend of the pod. The WNBA is so important. She had a tweet where it was like a screenshot of the play when Diamond shot it. And I think that we are being misled because, something that I always harp on is the production value of a WNBA game, right? When you watch an NBA game or a different professional sports league, there's multiple camera angles. They zoom in on the player after a big shot to see their celebration. The shot clock, the time, the scores, all those things are accurate. We don't get that in WNBA games, as ridiculous as that sounds. Like, there was a point where it was a 1-point lead for Chicago. I want to say it was like, 76 to 60. I forget, maybe it was 60-60 and it was 59. The point is on the scoreboard in the game, if you're watching a game on ESPN, it said that it was a tie game. And I'm looking at the stats online at ESPN, and the online says that the Sky have a 1-point lead. And it took about 3 minutes for them to correct that. Mm-hmm. The Mercury eventually go on that run. So I struggle to say, hey, let's look at the camera, the recording, and say there was time left on the clock. Do I trust the refs, when they went back and looked at it? Yes. Do I think that it's suspicious? And if you're a Chicago Sky fan or one of those people who believe in the conspiracy theories that the league is going to do everything they can to extend this series, that's just feeding fuel to the flame. What was your thoughts on that? And then we can get into the Diana Taurasi shove and the Clea Copper chokehold, and the Diana Taurasi roll over out of bounds and look like the oldest person I've ever seen playing professional basketball. Shout out to Nancy Lieberman. Yeah, what are your thoughts on all those?
To Nancy Lieberman. Oh, that was funny. Yeah, I mean, I'm still at a point, I feel like today, we're recording this the morning after, and I'm still like, my head's like, what the hell happened?
Are you still buzzing? Because I don't know if you can tell, I'm buzzing still.
I'm like, what happened last night? Like, I feel like I blacked out. I'm not going to lie. It was the most bizarre game I had ever seen. And I kept sitting here thinking, it feels like Chicago should be like up 10 right now. And I would like be watching and I'd look down at the score and I'd be like, but they're up 2, or Phoenix is up 1. Like, I don't understand. Like, what I was seeing on the court wasn't translating to the score. It felt very weird. And then you had all these strange moments that, we're going to talk about. But in terms of the Diamond to Shields 3, I'm going to be honest, it comes back to me like you don't get a whole lot of view at that, right? You don't get a whole lot of analysis as a person watching it from an outsider's perspective. So I can't really speak to that. Like I said, I guess I chalked it up to I thought it was really late. Like it was the next time out. We had gone to break. Everyone's getting their
I felt
drinks.
like it was like
out.
3 timeouts
Yeah,
later.
like all of a sudden I'm like, they're like, oh, that Diamond to Shields 3. And I remember thinking, that was like 10 minutes ago. Like we're reviewing that now. I felt like it was really late. And that was the only reaction I have. I was like, oh, we're doing that right now. Okay. But I guess I didn't put a whole lot of analysis in it myself. And I didn't see on social media. I really tried to be into the game. But I have not seen any of those still shots or anything. I'll have to check those out. But
The still shots do not do the refs any favors. Let's put it that way.
I'll have to check that out once we are on this, or once we get done with this. I just, I guess I just put enough. I just let it be what it was going to be. I trusted the refs in that situation. Now that poses a whole new question. There are moments in the game where I was like, what? Phoenix is getting every call right now, every single call, and I'm being honest. I wanted Phoenix to win, not because I have a favorite or whatever, but I just wanted my prediction to be right. So I found myself being like, oh my God, this is insane that like, I don't want it to end, right? I want this to be stretched out.
We all want it to go 5.
I want it to go 5. So I just felt like Phoenix would actually play better than what they played. I don't think they played well at all yesterday. But it really felt like the refs were on their side. Like you literally had a sense that there was like we want to try and stretch this out as long as we can as well.
Rachel's just feeding into all the Twitter trolls
I'm just saying,
now.
like,
Rachel, I completely respect what you're saying, and it's a legitimate cause and complaint, or cause isn't the right word. James Wade brought it up, the discrepancy, a little thing, and we were talking about this before the show, and I said, you know what, forget this, let's just hop in, right? This is WNBA Finals. We don't need to edit this. We don't need to, censor our thoughts. Yeah, I agreed. Like there was definitely points where I was just like, are they just? And here's the thing. I think what we saw was the refs, and I know James Wade will fire back on this and say, what are you talking about? Let them play type game. I don't know what that means. And I agree with him. Like, what does that mean? But it was an instance of the refs just saying, look, this is the finals. We know the Mercury are going to play insanely physical. We know the Sky are going to play insanely physical because we've already seen that in both semifinals. And honestly, I respect the fact that they let them play physical. Was there questionable calls when they were calling it? Yes, I believe the game ends with 11 free throws for the Mercury and 4 for the Sky, which obviously is a discrepancy. There is something to be said about the fact that
not a
late
lot
in
at all. I mean, just in general, that's not a lot.
Oh yeah. Well, that's my thing. Like, okay, fine. If you're gonna not, my issue isn't not calling the fouls, right? Like, if you're gonna allow the players to play ridiculously physical, that's cool. And so, okay, if the Chicago Sky are only gonna get 4 free throws, I would say, okay, well, then I want to see that on both sides. Now, the rebuttal, because me, I love to play devil's advocate, is late in the fourth quarter, the Mercury had 7 free throws and the Sky had 4. So that's not a huge discrepancy.
Yeah.
Whether or not you think the refs are on someone's side or trying to prolong it, at that point, late in the fourth, it was, in my mind, that is close enough that you call it even, right? Like, we're never going to have a professional WNBA game that is going to be completely even when it comes to the calls. That's just never going to happen. But I will say, like, we can talk about the refs all you want. When you brought this up, you said you didn't feel the Mercury played that good. I don't feel either team honestly played that good. The amount of missed bunnies that both teams missed, the amount of missed open. I know in the post-game press conference, James Wade said we were getting good shots, but not great shots. Our team is built that we pass out of a good shot for a great shot or for a better shot. And I want to review the tapes on that. Obviously, I haven't had time. It's early in the morning, the day after the game. I'm still buzzing from it. I got like 1 cup of coffee, but it feels like an adrenaline shot to my vein right now. But I would say that, like, look, at the end of the day, the Mercury, if I'm on either team, if we ignore the referee aspect, if I'm the Mercury, I'm saying to myself, Skylar Diggins-Smith, who, yes, she great facilitator, ends up making some huge baskets late in the game, but she shot like At one point, 1 of 7, 3 of 15. I mean, at that point, she was not hitting anything. She was missing little bunnies. Sophie Cunningham misses a couple little bunnies. It honestly, like, and we were texting this during the game, and then on the Sky side, open threes missed, open layups missed. We were talking about this. Like, for me, I was watching the game, and it was very clear to me that Brittany Griner, Diana Taurasi, even Skylar Diggins-Smith, but also Breon Turner, they were looking for the contact as opposed to going for the better shot. There was countless times where I saw them where they got the ball, one shoulder was wide open and they chose to go into the covered shoulder. And I understand there's probably a lot more to it and I'm simplifying things, but it almost looked like more times the Mercury were going for contact in a contested shot as opposed to the open look. That said, they were missing a lot of those open looks also.
Oh my God. I mean, I think that's to play devil's advocate. I remember I'm watching the game and like it was late in the second half, maybe fourth quarter. It felt like Chicago was just firing up threes. There were 55 threes attempted between both teams. This was not a game where it felt like we're just going to pound it inside and force things or attack the basket and take contact. I really didn't see a ton of that, to be honest with you. Now, there were some missed coverages. Courtney Vandersloot had that great take to the rim. Skylar Diggins-Smith had a huge mishap and completely she just gets to the rim for a wide open layup. And then that's a whole other thing y'all don't want to get me to go on is the missed layups yesterday. But that's besides the point. I feel like there were a lot, especially by Chicago. And again, this is just my observation. I felt like there were a lot of jump shots being taken. And they went into a lull in the moments where you felt like they were going to stomp on the Mercury's neck and really stretch this thing out. They'd come down and take, in my opinion, maybe a poor shot. One side of the floor, just jack a three that didn't necessarily make a lot of sense. Like, and you're not going to go to the free throw line, when you're shooting just jumpers a whole lot. And I felt like there were a lot of that, it not as the game as a whole, but in certain key moments of the game, especially late in the game. So that's just to piggyback off what you were saying. Like, that's not to say that I disagree with the refs. That's just not to say that I felt like they should have shot more. I just think at moments I was going, man, Chicago's shooting a lot of contested jumpers right now. And that was that's a credit to Mercury. Whatever they were doing defensively to keep them out of the paint or not be as aggressive getting into the rim. I think that you have to acknowledge that, because I saw a lot of those jumpers late in the game. And I agree with you. I think Phoenix did seem like there was a little bit more of a contested effort to get the ball inside, but there were not a lot of free throw shot in this game as a whole. Like you said, late in that game, the discrepancy was not that bad. I think some of these specific calls, are the bigger topic of conversation than the free throw discrepancy.
Yeah, I'd agree. And honestly, if you just go to ESPN and you look at the breakdown of the game, look at the shot chart, that's, obviously a single, projection of what happened that game. But just looking at the amount, when you look at the way that the shot chart lays out for the Sky versus the Mercury, you look at the Mercury, it's all in the paint or all behind the 3-point line. None of these, mid-range to deep twos. You look at Chicago,
Exactly.
and there's so many of these mid-range to deep twos that, yeah, like, yes, if at one point, they scored 30 points or 40 points in the first half, right? It was tied 40-40 at half. 30 of those points for Chicago were paint points,
Mm-hmm.
which was mind-blowing in a plethora of levels when you look at who Chicago is. But then, the Mercury kind of not lock down the head. Like, what do you even say to that, right? They ended up scoring like 50 points in the paint as opposed. So instead of going for 60, they went for 50, whatever. But can we just talk real quick? Brittany Griner goes for the first 8 points of the game, dunks it. Cool. First 10 points of the game for them. I thought so, but I wasn't sure. I just remember the 8-point mark. She was just freaking beasting. I mean, that's the Brittany Griner that I want to see, right? We talked about it before. I said she's got to go for 25, 15, and 5. She goes 29, 9, and like 4 or something like that. I don't know, whatever. That, if the Mercury are going to win, it's going to be on the back of Brittany Griner. Obviously, I don't expect Diana Taurasi and Skylar Diggins-Smith to kind of no-show in the scoring output level, right? Like, they both impacted in different ways. But question for you. There's been a lot of
Sure.
talk of the Kalia Copper chokehold, the Diana Taurasi ref shove,
You're all
and
over
then
the
the
place
Diana.
right now. I can't even get my thought in about the shot chart. Just real quick, let me add one
Sorry.
thing. Just go to the trusty. Everyone, go to the trusty WNBA site. Go to the box score from last night. Click on shot chart. Go to period four, quarter four, and look at the shot discrepancy between the Chicago Sky and the Phoenix Mercury. You'll see that Chicago Sky went 6 of 14. Phoenix Mercury went 9 of 16. You'll see that Chicago, I'm doing this math right now. 9 of their 14 shots were outside of 18 feet, most of them beyond the 3-point line. And you'll see the Phoenix Mercury, most of their shots outside of 5 of them were in the paint. So that for me was the fourth quarter and the difference of the game, and probably the difference of late game free throw situations. So that's just a fun activity everyone can go do. See for yourself. That shot chart, as Aryeh was talking about, in that fourth quarter is very glaring to me. Sorry, back to you about the copper chain.
No,
Go
you're right. I appreciate. I'm all over the place. Like I said, a lot of coffee, lack of sleep, still high on the fumes of that game last night. I mean, like that's what the WNBA finals are all about, right? Like we want to see great players battling. Yeah, they're going to make mistakes. Yeah, the pressure is going to get to them.
Yeah.
But to like I'm trying to remember cuz here's the thing. Yes, recent finals have had some competition, but realistically, like there's always been a strong favorite, right? When the Mystics played Seattle, we knew Seattle was going to win. When Seattle played Las Vegas, we knew Seattle was going to win. Yes, there is that element of like we all, I think, collectively as WNBA minds are expecting Chicago to win and will think it's a big disappointment, if not like just a choke, if you will. Some people are saying that. I think it's an argument to be made, but right now we're sitting at 1-1 in this series, so can we really say that?
Right.
But to have a series, I'm trying to remember, the last time we had a series that was this contested, that was this intense, that was truly, I don't know. I'm trying to remember. Was there like the last time? And that's what I'm excited about is we have a 1-1 series in the WNBA finals. We have greats on both sides. I'm trying to remember who told me this. Someone said it, and I'm going to steal your line. Yeah, the Sky are the better team, but the Mercury have some closers.
Sure.
So the question for me is, can the Sky moving forward, kind of keep that distance so that you can't let closers close? Sorry, Rachel. Back to you. The chokehold and the ref shove.
The ref shove.
Because that's what it was. But here's my thing. Let me just give my opinion, and then you can, react and tell me. One, Clea Copper probably should have got a flagrant tech, something for that chokehold. She in no way was getting the ball, right? Second, should Diana Taurasi be ejected for that? Typically, yes, but to everybody, we can hate on Diana Taurasi all you want, whatever you want to say. Yeah, like the woman throws bows and like shoves people, just like baiting the refs to call fouls on her because she knows that the ref would be, is very inclined mentally to not foul her out of the game. That said, are you really going to kick out? Like, do you, like, fans, do you want to see the Mercury lose because their best player got kicked out of the game for that?
I just
Or do you want, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, or do you want to see them have their best players and compete?
yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous to even see that happen in the first place. But it's such a tough one because I can see either side of the argument. Like, was it like a malicious kind of like, okay, I'm coming in and just completely, or was it a heat of the moment kind of reactionary type of thing? And I think I tend to lay on the other that side of it of kind of like, okay, there's a little bit of a battle. She's coming in to kind of help break things up, whatever. Like, no, you cannot eject or whatever Taurasi in that situation. You just can't. And I think that was the right call. Do I think that there's certain instances where you just have to read the room and take in the situation and just not but that's not a free pass to just let Taurasi do whatever the hell she wants. But that's it's a tough one to me. It's crazy that even happened in my mind, but no, you can't have Taurasi out in that game. She has to be on the floor. Can you imagine if she got ejected? Like, I think everyone in the women's basketball community, our heads all would have exploded. You just can't. That can't happen. And so
Also, how you not going to give Cop a tech if you're going to? That's the other thing people want to talk about. Like that. That's the funny thing about fandom, right? the Chicago Sky fans didn't see Kalia Copper chokehold
Well,
Sophie
and that's
Cunningham.
the other aspect of this, and to me, that's probably the bigger topic of conversation. Which sounds funny considering Taurasi just walked up and shoved a ref, but I think that
And the sorry, but the ref's face when she got shoved, when she turned around and saw who it was, like there was this face of who the, and then oh,
yeah, it was kind of just like what the hell do I do in this? Like that really happened. It was so shocking that those refs had to just be like, okay, like, and I mean that's a hell of a break for Phoenix. I initially thought the Kalia Copper Sophie Cunningham scrum first and foremost. It's just funny how people want to get all like smacky after a missed layup, like it's,
right, make the
like
freaking layup.
again, I can't get past the layups. But I do think that yeah, I mean, it's a heat of the moment battle. You're battling for the possession. Both players are on the floor. Sophie Cunningham is Sophie Cunningham. I thought that it was clean. You know, I really kind of thought, okay, this is just an intense battle situation, and we're on the floor and everyone's getting chippy. And I didn't think it was a big deal until I saw the replay of it. Shout out to the replay that we kind of got to see that was good, and the
The
camera
one
angle.
replay of the
There
series.
was a you know that it was the neck aspect of that took it to another level. I think it could have gone either way. You know, I wouldn't have been surprised if they had elevated that, just because of that neck thing. Like when I saw that, I went, okay, this could be a lot more. This could be serious.
I wanted the hot mic
Uh,
so bad. I just want to know what they're saying to each other. Because here's the other thing: like everyone's gonna talk about like that South Philly. I don't know if she's from South Philly or North. I don't know anything about Philadelphia. But you know, Clea Copper was in her bag that like obviously frustrated the Mercury had a game plan that was clearly to frustrate her and impact her in a way that they weren't able to in game 1. I love the back and forth and I agree with you. Let them play. You know what I mean? Like, and the other thing, like people want to say whatever they want. Like Alyssa Thomas got a technical for doing less than what Kalia Copper did.
True, that's a good point. That's a really good point. But it was a break for Chicago. I think that it could have gone, in Phoenix's favor, and that could have been elevated. So I mean that I do think that was a break. Now, was it a glaring, huge moment that changed the momentum or would have made a huge implication for the game? Maybe. I mean, I don't know, but it was a break for Chicago. I think it could have gone either way. Um, yeah, that's really all I'm
All
saying.
right. Well, I think those are. I mean, the only other controversy was Diana Taurasi like falling over, and
She got rid of it.
honest,
She got rid of it.
she got rid of it. My thing with that whole thing was we can't hear the like. There was times where the refs were blowing the whistle, and us as like fans watching from home couldn't hear the whistle, right?
Yeah,
So like,
true.
am I going to give them the benefit of the doubt that Sandy was calling timeout from behind? I saw one camera angle because you know the WNBA we have two camera angles. I saw one camera angle that showed, and it looked pretty clear to me that she was either she was screaming for a foul or she was calling timeout. It looked like she was calling timeout. So fine, I give that to her. But I mean, look, frustrating game. My thing is this moving forward, right? Because all right, we've talked about this game. We talked about who showed up, who didn't. You know, shout out to Courtney Vandersloot, just ridiculous game. A lot of players making impactful plays, and this is the series we all wanted. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to this looking forward. The Sky lost their cool, right? Like, and maybe that I'm feel free to tell me I'm exaggerating or whatever, but like to me, at a certain point in that game, it no longer looked like the Sky were the team we've seen all playoffs, where you know something bad is happening to them and they respond cool, calm, and collective. We've seen that from both teams so far in the playoffs. In this game, it almost felt like I don't know what they were doing specifically, but the Mercury found a way to get under their skin. The Mercury found a way to just kind of, be those nails on a chalkboard to the
Mhm,
Chicago Sky,
mhm.
and the Chicago Sky lost their cool.
Yep.
So for me, it's as simple as this. Like, I want to see how cool, calm, and collective they can be going into game 3. They're going to be home. The pressure is going to be on them, right? They're the expected favorites. They're going home. They need to perform in front of the hometown crowd. Candace Parker coming home. All these big things. Can they stay cool, calm, and collective and ready for the moment like we've seen throughout these playoffs? Or are we going to look back at this and say game 2, the tides turned, the tables turned, and the Mercury found a way to just aggravate the Sky.
Well, I think just back to game 2, last night's game. Phoenix did exactly what they needed to do in that game. They found a way, and it wasn't pretty for either team. There were moments of runs. I mean, how many? I mean, there was like countless ties and lead changes. I mean, it was one of the most back and forth games we've ever seen. And there's like that saying, basketball's a game of runs. It truly was like that last night. With sprinkled in bad calls and you know controversial moments, things like that. It was just extremely exhausting for even a fan to watch. But as the players on the road, Chicago's in that environment. I mean, did anyone stop and look around at that crowd and just the
That was
atmosphere and how
insane.
many times the announcers were like, we can't even hear the whistles? I get chills. I have chills right now on my arm talking about that, because that in itself is just a topic of conversation of the environment that's being created here. But that's a hostile environment for Chicago, and Phoenix had to capitalize on that. And I think that Chicago showed moments of poise, showed moments of this team that they have been in the playoffs. I'm not super concerned about Chicago and questioning, oh man, like here's red flags. I'm seeing something different. I just saw two teams that it's late in the season and it's ugly and it's gritty and it's chippy, and you had a lot of emotion and intensity, and you just have to find a way. You flip one or two of those calls, a couple of those layups, and it's a different game. I mean, again, we're talking about the difference of just minor possessions. And I don't know, I guess I feel like it's a credit to Phoenix. Like I said before, I felt like Chicago had it. I felt like they were in control, especially in that first half. And then you kind of felt a little bit of a change in that third quarter headed into the fourth. And it was like every time you felt like Phoenix was getting ready to go on a run. Like they'd hit a three, then they'd come down and get a stop. Then they'd come down and turn it over. And then Chicago would come down, maybe Phoenix would get another stop. And then Phoenix would come down and they'd miss a layup. Like then Chicago would come down and hit a three. It felt like Chicago actually did a good job of answering any of Phoenix's runs, but somehow they found a way to keep it within striking distance, so that when in that fourth quarter came, I think the biggest issue was Chicago. They got on their heels. I don't know if it was the moment. I don't know if it was a situation. They were on their heels. They were shooting way too many jump shots. They weren't as aggressive as they were in the earlier parts of the game, and Phoenix was the aggressor. I think that's the difference for me. And obviously, you have that environment. You have Courtney Vandersloot was absolutely phenomenal. My God, I mean, we have to really start putting her in the conversation of MVP if Chicago ends up winning this whole thing. But I think that Phoenix did what they had to do. And it's really interesting now. I think, we talked yesterday going, man, like we could see Chicago running away with this entire thing. But then it was like, or we could see Phoenix finding a way. And that's what they've been able to do all year. They had to. It was do or die for Phoenix. They absolutely had to win that game. Shout out to Cheryl Swoops, who agreed that this was a do or die for Phoenix to have a chance. So now, I mean, everyone gets on a plane today. They probably don't practice much. They just rest and recover and get ready for tomorrow. And it's in Chicago. It's at Wintrust, which is going to be just as much of an environment as Phoenix. And I think now the question is, how does Chicago respond to kind of getting punched in the face in that fourth quarter and late in that game?
And the bigger question, honestly, that's going to be on everyone's mind is like, look, we've seen both these teams throughout the whole regular season, and obviously playoffs is a completely different season, especially with the amount of games they've played so far in these playoffs. End of the day, the question mark is on Chicago. How do they respond? Like you said, Rachel, like, are we going to see the 16-16 team, or are we going to see the team that just trailblazed through the playoffs? And similar for the Mercury, honestly. Well, today is Thursday. We have a game
Like
tomorrow.
4 minutes to recover.
4 minutes to recover.
I'm
I
getting on
believe
a
I
plane
saw.
tomorrow. Everyone send me some vibes that I can get there. I'm flying Southwest. We'll see.
Good
Please,
luck.
God.
I will say, no, the vibe I'm going to send you is find a way to go to the game, but also find a way that we can do a spaces before the game. I don't know how we're going to do that, when we're going to do that, or what. We'll find a way, even if that means that you're barely going to talk, and every time you talk, it's just going to be
Like,
holding
"Ah!"
the
Yeah.
exactly. Or honestly, you know what, Rachel? I need you, if we're gonna do the spaces, I need you to find like a Chicago Sky fan face painted, or like I need you to find that diehard fan, and bring them onto our spaces, because I just think that would be hilarious. Rachel in the crowd with all the crazy fans is where my mind's at. But Rachel, we have a little bit of time to adjust our predictions, but I want, as of today, right, with game 2 fresh on the mind, the flavor of, our mouth is still full of what feels like we just had a boxing match last night. Like sweat and blood is still the flavor of choice right now. Talk to me. Prediction for game 3 as of today. And I assume we will be talking tomorrow and do a prediction tomorrow. But as of today, game 3 prediction. I'm today going Sky by 9.
I just feel like I want to retire from the predictions after last night. Like, like go out on
After
top.
finally getting one right.
After fun, go out on top and just feel like, people were texting me like, "Hey, will you do my lottery lottery ticket?" I'm like, listen, I got lucky. Every now and then you find something. Um, I I have to stick with my long term gut on this. I think that it's going to be an ugly game because you're going to have a lot of tired legs, a lot of jet lagged legs. I don't think it'll be the prettiest game, but it's going to be really intense. I'm going to have Chicago Sky in regulation by 6.
Ooh, so I got Sky by 9. I didn't say regulation or not. That I'm copping out, because then I'll look smart if we go to overtime. Appreciate it, and then I don't know how. Maybe we'll do an episode tomorrow. Maybe we'll do something tomorrow where we can update. Let the flavors sink in and decide if we're sticking with our predictions or if we're moving on. Rachel, thank you so much as always. And fans, get ready, because this is not going to be a 3-0 series. This is going to be a good one.